participants are in a listen-only mode. A question-and-answer session will follow the formal presentation. If anyone should require operator assistance during the conference, please press star 0 on your telephone keypad. As a reminder, this conference is being recorded. I would now like to turn the conference over to your host, Michael Mulholland, Chief Financial Officer.
Thank you. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. This is Michael Mulholland, Chief Financial Officer of CytoDyn. Joining me on today's call is our President and CEO, Dr. Nader Pourhassan. Before we begin, it is essential that we provide you with important cautionary language related to certain federal securities laws. Our remarks during today's conference call will include forward-looking statements. Forward-looking statements are not guarantees of future performance and involve known and unknown risks, uncertainties, and other factors that are difficult to predict. Actual results may be materially different from any future results expressed or implied by such forward-looking statements. These risks and uncertainties include, among other matters, statements regarding our potential acquisition, that clinical trials may not commence or proceed as planned, products that appear promising in early trials may not subsequently prove to be viable on safety and efficacy grounds, products may not receive regulatory approval or market acceptance, competition may reduce the commercial potential of our products, we may experience product recalls, manufacturing issues, or product liability, and our patents may be challenged or unenforceable. Although forward-looking statements help to provide complete information about the company, forward-looking statements may be less reliable than historical information. The company undertakes no obligation to update publicly these forward-looking statements, except as required by law. Please refer to our recent quarterly and annual reports filed with the Securities and Exchange Commission for more information about the risks and uncertainties that could cause actual results to differ materially versus our current expectations. I will now turn the call over to Nader Pourhassan. Nader?
Thanks, Mike, and thank you all for joining us. I am delighted to welcome to today's call CytoDyn's soon-to-be new Chief Medical Officer, world-renowned oncologist Dr. Richard Pestel. This is an extremely exciting time at CytoDyn in regards to our 2 phase 3 trial in HIV, as well as a new corporate focus to expand the indications for Pro-140 in cancer and other immunological disorders. As a CCR5 receptor antagonist, we believe Pro-140 holds significant promise in a wide variety of indications. During today's call, I will provide updates on CytoDyn's pivotal phase 3 combination therapy trial, next CytoDyn's investigative phase 3 monotherapy trial, and then an update on the use of Pro-140 in other indications. And finally, the introduction of Dr. Richard Pestel, who will say a few words about his background and discuss the synergies of CytoDyn's potential acquisition of Prostagine. So first, our CDO pivotal trial with Pro-140 in combination with highly active antiretroviral therapy or HAART in HIV. As criteria to participate in this trial, all patients screened positive for CCR5 tropic HIV-1 infection and were failing their current HAART regimen. Moreover, all patients had either 3 classes of resistance to HAART or 2 classes with additional limited treatment options. In the primary efficacy segment of this trial, all patients continued their existing HAART regimen and half were treated with a single dose of Pro-140 and the other half received placebo. The goal of this portion of the trial was to evaluate the decrease in HIV viral load after 1 week following a single Pro-140 treatment. Last February, we announced favorable efficacy result with a statistical significant reduction in HIV viral load that yield p-value of 0.0032. So we hit our primary endpoint with a great p-value. All patients then entered the open label part of this trial, in which they received weekly Pro-140 injections with an optimized HAART regimen for 24 weeks. As of July 12, the final enrolled patient completed the full trial period. The most important criteria for any drug to be approved is how long can your product can offer HIV patients suppress viral load. So this portion is very crucial portion of the trial. I'm very pleased to report impressive results of approximately 81% of the patients completing the trial with suppressed viral load of less than 50 copies per ml after 24 weeks. To put these results into perspective, a recent antibody approved for this population, ibalizumab, showed viral load suppression of 43% after 24 weeks of therapy for multi-drug resistance population. Again, CytoDyn had 81% responders rate. The safety results from the pivotal Pro-140 combination trial are equally as impressive. Of the 52 patients enrolled, 40 requested to continue receiving Pro-140 in an extension arm of the study. I am also delighted to announce that several of these patients have now maintained full HIV viral load suppression with Pro-140 for more than 2 years. Furthermore, there were no serious adverse events or SAEs associated with Pro-140 during this trial or with patients in the extension arm, which, as I said, some patients have gone an additional 1.5 years beyond the 6-month trial period. In summary, we now believe we have efficacy and safety results from this trial that support our goal of advancing Pro-140 as a combination therapy for HIV as our first approval. You may have read that we had a positive meeting with the FDA in which we discussed a biologics license application or BLA submission for Pro-140 as in combination therapy for HIV. During this meeting, the FDA provided us with clarity on several key issues that have cleared the path forward to submit a BLA to be considered for approval. First, the FDA agreed to allow us to submit safety results from a total of 150 patients who have been treated with Pro-140 for a 24-week period for any dose equal or higher than 350 milligrams. You may recall that previously this number was 300 patients. The FDA is also allowing the safety data for this trial to come from our phase 3 monotherapy trial, which is an investigative trial. Second, we are able to submit a rolling BLA, which means we can submit the various components of the BLA as they are completed. That said, the FDA will not review the BLA for completeness until all components are submitted. We are currently preparing all components of the submission, and we expect to have the BLA submission completed by the first half of 2019. Moving on to our CD03 phase 3 trial with Pro-140 as a monotherapy. The objective of this trial is to assess the efficacy, safety, and tolerability of Pro-140 as a long-acting, single-agent maintenance therapy for HIV patients. As of this morning, we have enrolled over 300 patients per the protocol. To be exact, the number is 303 patients. However, we are not closing the trial, and I will explain further shortly. Among the goals of this investigative trial was to determine why some of the patients enrolled in our earlier CD01 phase 2 monotherapy trial did not respond to Pro-140 as long as others did. In the CD01 trial, of the 40 patients enrolled, only 25% achieved full viral load suppression for more than 2 years. The FDA requested that we show a higher responders rate to be considered for approval and observe all patients who are non-responders for being able to safely go back to their original therapy prior to Pro-140 monotherapy. So 2 things were crucial. 1, achieve a higher responders rate. 2, no harm or resistance for the non-responders. Our CD03 trial is producing very promising results. We began this trial treating patients with weekly Pro-140 injections of 350 milligrams and found out that about 40% of the trial participants were responders. Since this trial was an investigative trial and we were focused to find out how we could achieve a higher responders rate, we tried a higher dose, a dose of 525 milligrams. Once we started the 525 milligram higher dose, we allowed the non-responders patients to have an opportunity to switch to higher dose if they failed the lower dose. We were pleased to see many patients have achieved a resuppressed viral load after failing 350 milligrams and after receiving a higher dose of 525 milligrams. Therefore, they continued on monotherapy rather than discontinue participation. This was a very important finding. Moreover, I am very pleased to announce that our responder rate with patients who start with a higher dose is currently approximately 70%, 70% as compared to lower dose of about 40%. Please note, the patients included in this comparison who are successfully continuing in this trial anywhere from 1 month to 9 months. So the results could vary once everyone has surpassed 3 to 4 months. Nevertheless, we believe these results are impressive. We also believe we can achieve an even higher responders rate than 70% if we give higher dose than 525. So again, because of the favorable safety profile of Pro-140. We are modifying the protocol to evaluate Pro-140 at an even higher dose of weekly injection, and this is once a week injection at 700 milligrams. If our responders rate went from 40% to 70% and the dose increase was 175 milligrams, what would happen if we increase another 175 milligrams? Would we see another increase like this? Very exciting question, and as we move forward, we will find out. Also, not only there were no SAEs related to Pro-140 at higher dose, but the number of injections was not increased, but only the volume of each injection was increased. Very important. In another finding that is of particular importance to the FDA in regards to the monotherapy trial, 100% of patients who did not respond to Pro-140 monotherapy were able to return to their original HART regimen and achieve full HIV viral load suppression without issues. This is very promising in that if patients in the monotherapy stop responding to Pro-140, or if they just want to go back to their old regimen, they will continue to have all of their options for HIV treatment available to them. We now believe we have answers to these important concerns regarding Pro-140 as a single-agent therapy. As the next step, we plan to conduct a pivotal phase 3 trial with Pro-140 after meeting with the FDA and getting the FDA buy-in into the protocol. This would be a single-agent therapy for HIV. Following the trial, we plan to pursue approval for PRO-140 for this indication as a label expansion should we successfully gain approval for PRO-140 as a combination therapy. I would like to now turn your attention to a very exciting new development. We recently announced the potential acquisition of ProstaGene. Recently, Dr. Richard Pastel published results about the role of CCR5 in cancer, which is welcome news to CytoDyn. And with that, it is with great pleasure that I now introduce Dr. Richard Pastel. As you have seen from our recent news, Dr. Pastel will be an integral part of our exciting future at CytoDyn. In addition to joining as our Chief Medical Officer to lead our efforts in non-HIV indications, he will be taking a seat on our board of directors following the expected completion of the ProstaGene acquisition. We are still in the due diligence phase of this potential acquisition and will provide greater detail on terms of at the appropriate time. Needless to say, this potential acquisition will provide us with greater depth and resources to pursue our focus on expanded indication for PRO-140. So with that, Dr. Pastel, please.
Well, thank you, Nader. I'm really delighted to be participating in this first conference call at CytoDyn, and I wanted to begin by expressing my genuine enthusiasm for PRO-140 as a CCR5 receptor antagonist. In brief, my background includes completing MD and PhD degrees at Melbourne University in Australia and postdoctoral studies at Harvard and Massachusetts General Hospital. Since 2002, I've led 2 National Cancer Institute designated cancer centers, first the Lombardi Comprehensive Cancer Center at Georgetown University, and subsequently the Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center at Thomas Jefferson University. In these roles, I was responsible for maintaining the highest level of cancer treatment and the highest level of innovative cancer research. It was during this time that I founded the company ProstaGene, which was focused particularly on developing technology based on my now issued patents in the US and Australia for targeting CCR5 in cancer. In particular, these patented technologies are based on our finding that CCR5 is a key and specific target for metastasis in many types of cancer. We initially assessed over 2,200 patients with breast cancer, and we'd found almost 50% of these patients' tumors overexpressed CCR5. We published preclinical studies showing that CCR5 inhibitors dramatically blocked breast cancer and prostate cancer spread. We published that CCR5 inhibition blocked prostate cancer metastasis to the bones and brains and blocked the spread of breast cancer to the lungs. So in this context, it's important to understand the role of PRO-140 in this research, as PRO-140 has shown the ability to selectively target the CCR5 receptor. Research by CytoDyn and by others demonstrated that selectively blocking the CCR5 receptor and the interaction of the chemokine CCL5 RANTers are absolutely crucial in modulating immune cell trafficking. My research has further indicated that the CCR5 receptor is absolutely essential in cancer cell invasion and metastasis in a broad array of cancers. The next generation of cancer therapies are really those which selectively target just the cancerous cell. And our research showed extensively that CCR5 was expressed just on the cancerous, but not on the normal breast cells. And these properties make it an ideal selective approach for cancer therapy, which is part of this next generation cancer therapy approach. I first contacted CytoDyn last year about conducting studies with PRO-140 in metastatic breast and prostate cancer based on my promising results with small molecule CCR5 antagonists in multiple cancer indications. When we evaluated PRO-140 in our models of metastatic breast cancer, we were very excited to see that PRO-140 both detected specific CCR5 on the breast cancer cells, but furthermore block their invasiveness, suggesting its potential to block certain metastatic cancers. Furthermore, the blocking of breast cancer invasion with Pro-140 was as effective as with small molecule CCR5 inhibitors in our previously published studies. So again, CCR5 was selectively detected by Pro-140, and Pro-140 was effective and as effective as small molecule CCR5 inhibitors in blocking breast cancer cellular invasion. Our previous studies had shown that small molecular CCR5 inhibitors effectively block metastasis of human breast cancer cells to the lungs and effectively block prostate cancer cell metastasis to the bones and the brain. Additionally, research by others has shown that treatment with CCR5 inhibitors can inhibit metastasis and invasion of colon cancer, including patients with colon cancer resistant to prior treatments. Therefore, blocking CCR5 activity with Pro-140 may prove a very useful selective therapeutic strategy to prevent metastasis and control of cancer progression. Based upon clinical studies in HIV patients, we believe Pro-140, if approved, may offer less frequent dosing and an improved safety profile compared with other small molecule CCR5 antagonists. The ability to expand this research to additional indications and interclinical trial holds great promise for patients with cancer, including those with cancer that has metastasized. It's a very, very exciting time for Pro-140. I'd now like to turn the call back to Nada.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pastel. I'm going to give a quick update on our current phase 2 graft versus host disease, GVHD, and then go over a couple of other items, and then we're going to open the call for question and answer. In regards to phase 2 GVHD, we are now enrolling patients under an amended protocol at 5 clinical sites. You may recall we revised this trial protocol to switch the pre-treatment conditioning regimen from aggressive myeloablative condition to switch them to a reduced intensity conditioning, and to switch from a blinded 1-for-1 randomized placebo-controlled design to an open label design under which all patients are treated with Pro-140. We made these switches to improve the trial enrollment rate as well as based on the findings from our recent published studies that were not available when we began this trial. As you may recall, we eliminated GVHD in the mice model. The results allowed us to receive orphan drug designation from the FDA. And this modification was done to mimic the model as best as possible. Our next interim review of data will be after the first 10 patients are enrolled under the new protocol. We will report on our finding at that time. Before moving on, I would like to express the appreciation of our board and entire team at CytoDyn for the contributions made by Bruce Montgomery and Dennis Berger as longtime directors, and to Dennis for his additional role as Chief Science Officer. Additionally, we thank Tony Caracciolo for his operating role as Executive Chairman. Tony continues to serve as our Chairman of the Board. We look forward to expanding our management team and board membership in the near term to better align our leadership to our expanded focus. Turning to additional corporate development, we are taking a number of actions to prepare for approval, including an independent study to better define the market opportunity for Pro-140. To this end, we have hired a reputable healthcare market research firm to perform an independent analysis of the market size and dynamics. Their report is completed, and we will share that with shareholders soon. In short, their findings were very positive. We are also taking multiple actions to communicate the exciting news about Pro-140 in HIV and our expanded focus to investors and the scientific community. Among these actions are: we are conducting aggressive social media outreach and have contracted with scientific writers to generate white paper articles and CytoDyn and Pro-140 on a regular basis. We plan to be regularly meeting with investors across the U.S. We are preparing to post the first in a series of videos to our website that explains our mission with periodic updates. We are seeking opportunities to present our data at scientific conferences. And we plan to present the CytoDyn opportunity at investment conferences. To this end, I am pleased to announce that I will be presenting at the Singular Research Summer Solstice 2018 conference this Thursday, July 19, at 2:50 p.m. Eastern Time. A webcast of the presentation will be available both live and archived as noted in yesterday's press release. So in summary, we have expanded our focus based on the many applications of Pro-140 as a CCR5 receptor antagonist. We are delighted to welcome Dr. Richard Pestel to CytoDyn to support this expanded focus, and we are working diligently to complete our potential acquisition of Prostagene. We expect to begin submitting portions of our BLA for Pro-140 as a combination HIV therapy as early as late this year, with a full BLA filing expected to be completed in the first half of 2019. We plan to conduct a pivotal trial with Pro-140 as a single-agent HIV maintenance therapy in our effort to gain a label expansion approval, and this will happen after we meet with the FDA. We are increasing activity in communicating the message of CytoDyn and the potential of Pro-140 to investors and the scientific community. We are excited by the many developments at CytoDyn for our shareholders, patients, and the medical community. With those remarks, operator, please open up the call for questions. Operator?
At this time, we will be conducting a question and answer session. If you would like to ask a question, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad. A confirmation tone will indicate your line is in the question queue. You may press star 2 if you would like to remove your question from the queue. For participants using speaker equipment, it may be necessary to pick up your handset before pressing the star keys. One moment, please, while we hold for questions. Our first question comes from Mike Scheich, Falcon Strategic Research. Please proceed with your question.
Hi, Nader. This is Mike from Falcon Strategic Research. I want to thank you for that great overview. And, you know, it's been a number of months since your last overview. Maybe you can give a flavor for what happened there. Why was there this disconnect? It sounds like you're going to have them more frequently. Can we be assured of that?
Hi, Mike, and thank you for your question. We will be very aggressive going forward with that kind of visibility. In the past, we were very focused on the science, and perhaps we were finding ourselves in the positions that we didn't anticipate to be, but now we are very focused on going forward. Mike, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I would just add to that. We were quite focused on preparing for the pre-BLA meeting in mid-June, and thought that that was our highest priority at the time. And now that that's behind us, we're back in front of you.
Yep.
Just one more follow-up question, then I guess I'll go back into the queue. Allergan had a CCR2 and a CCR5 drug called Centroviroc, and it was used for NASH. Have you explored that area at all?
So we had look at that definitely, and we believe our early results that we've seen in NASH was pretty good, but we have to do more studies of that, but we definitely are pursuing NASH.
Okay, that's great. I'll follow up in the queue. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Next.
Our next question comes from Tom Anderson, private investor. Please proceed with your question.
Hey guys, thank you for taking my call, and congratulations on the progress you've made on your phase 3 trials and your new focus. My questions are, why did Tony Carucciolo resign from the executive chairman position? And secondly, why did Dr. Berger and Dr. Montgomery resign from the board?
Mike, going to address that. Mike, please.
Yeah, thanks, Nader. Tony's day-to-day role for the company was to focus on preparing manufacturing operations to ensure a successful scale-up and to prepare for commercial viability. This involved working very closely with our contract manufacturing organizations and several third-party consulting firms. He also provided internal project management of preparations for the pre-BLA meeting, which was concluded last month. That had a successful outcome for us, and we now have a very clear pathway forward. I would also add, importantly, that Tony will continue to oversee these activities to ensure their continued success, but really his role on a daily basis is less needed as contrasted to the last year and a half. And let's not forget that he also continues to serve as chairman of the board and will certainly play an instrumental role in discussions with partnership opportunities as we go forward. And your second question again?
About Dr. Berger and Dr. Montgomery resigning from the board?
Yes. Dr. Montgomery, if you recall, was the first to recognize the opportunity of Pro-140 and GVHD and provided some very important insights at the outset of the GVHD program. And also, it's not to be lost that he also provided some very key strategic leadership in the design and execution of our HIV trials based upon his extensive background in this area. Dr. Berger was integral to advancing the GVHD indication through preclinical studies and now into a phase 2 trial, while working very closely with all of the clinicians involved in this trial. He also formulated several patents in this area and published his preclinical GVHD study in a peer-reviewed journal, Blood. As we also noted, it should be important to recognize that Dr. Berger will continue in a consulting role to oversee the GVHD trial and other preclinical immunologic studies. Now that these initiatives are well underway, we now turn to Dr. Pastel's leadership to explore the Pro-140 potential for various cancer indications. Nader, anything to add?
No, that's
okay.
Very well said.
Next question, please.
Our next question comes from Jared Cohen, JM Cohen & Company. Please proceed with your question.
Yeah, just two questions. One, just from what you're saying you're doing in terms of your phase 3 trials, does this mean potential approvals get pushed back into 2020, given your filing dates?
So thank you for the question. We believe that we can submit the final BLA by first half of next year. So if we do have fast track designation, which has possibility of accelerated approval. So if we are able to, be able to submit it in May or June time, then the approval is expected by the end of 2019. And don't forget that we do have a breakthrough designation application, which we will be filing with the new data that was not available to us before.
Oh, no, that's what I figured. That's what I was figuring, 6 months, give or take, and that's why I was figuring the end of 2019, beginning of 2020 for the combination therapy. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And given all the things you're doing, has your cash burn stayed the same or gone up a little bit, or where is it right now, just out of curiosity?
Mike?
Yes. The only thing I can comment on as of today would be the relationships that we disclosed in the 10-Q for the 9 months ended February 28, wherein we reported an approximate use of cash of about $2.5 million per month. This is expected to increase going forward, largely due to CMC activities as we accelerate preparations for the BLA filing.
Okay, and so increase from there, okay. And so you'll still be I know you just raised $5 million, so that will take you, give you enough for another 2 months or so, but you'll still be needing more cash in the near future, give or take.
Well, obviously we can't comment on a granular basis on future financing activities, but as clearly we need to raise additional capital and have stated as such in all of our filings.
All right.
So, and I would also just sort of add that, you know, we're producing a very important drug right now, and we expect to bring it to market. And if and when we have the opportunity to bring this drug to market, we firmly believe that it will be at a much lower capital cost as compared to big pharma would be able to do or be willing to do. So I think stepping back from it all on sort of an all-in context, we believe that we will be able to bring this drug to market at a much lower than a norm, obviously, if approved.
So let me just add one thing here. Raising funds in the last 4 or 5 years has always been in front of our face right away, and we have to raise money to do the trials. However, we now have options. We actually rejected funds when they were given to us at a price that we didn't see it fit for CytoDyn. We want to monetize our asset perhaps. We have humanized mice that could be valued quite a bit. We have cytofeline and CytoLyn, which had a published paper from MGH, Harvard University Hospital. And we will aggressively pursue that. But we always said to everybody that we also are looking at any partnership or license agreement. Now, those also could be in coming for us. But the non-dilutive fundraising is our focus. If it's going to be debt or the things that I just mentioned, that's what we're going to do. But I want to assure everybody that when we reject funds because the value was not fit for us, that shows that we have a lot of confidence on what we are doing with the science, and the results are being produced every day, and we will be able to get ourselves to a much better level in the stock. That's what we believe. And in that time, we can also raise in a dilutive way, but
not a much way.
Yeah, exactly, and in a much higher price.
Okay, because the last question, the fully shares outstanding, including the warrants, is around 300 million shares.
Fully diluted outstanding is approximately 375 million.
Yeah, let's have time for others to also ask questions.
Okay,
Thank you. Next, please.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Our next question comes from Scott Larry, Fortson, Bentley, and Griffin. Please proceed with your question.
Hi, gentlemen. Thank you for the opportunity to be on the call today, and appreciate all the information. I was wondering if you were at liberty to give an update on patient enrollment for the second 10 cohort in the GVHD trial. And if not, I totally understand.
Thank you for that. We are not in liberty to give those information at this time, but rest assured when it's open label, we will be able to talk about it as soon as we have meaningful results.
All right, sir. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, please.
Our next question comes from Paul Rosenbaum, SWR. Please proceed with your question.
Hi. Any time you have a wholesale change in board and personnel, the question I always look at is how does that translate into shareholder value? What I heard on the call today is that you're going to have an aggressive social outreach. You're going to have much more visibility as a company, and that you're going to go after more scientific scientific data at conventions and so forth. So I hear it loud and clear that you're going to have better communications with the shareholders, which is something that's desperately needed, and that's something that I totally agree with. So my question to you, have you sat down and thought in this better communications, whether it's going to be an emphasis on the combination therapy or the monotherapy, but also the CCR5, which is just starting, may have much more shareholder value in terms of stock price than anything else. So I just want to know, because you said that you're going to have aggressive social outreach, where is this communication level going to be emphasized?
So thank you, Paul, for the great question. So we need to put out results that comes out from combination therapy. That's the most important thing. That's our first approval. That would be given. But monotherapy is continuously producing very valuable information. For example, knowing that all these patients who didn't respond were able to go to higher dose, and a lot of them are now resuppressed, knowing that the higher dose was the only thing we needed to get the more patients responders, and knowing that we can go to even a higher dose. So those things we will be reporting immediately, and we are going to update our video that we will put on the website, and I will ask Dr. Pastel to join me to represent our mission on those videos. And we will reach out to social media. We will have writings. We will have scientific presentations. But everywhere that there is opportunity, we will be there. So that's what we're going to do. And with the non-HIV, Dr. Pastel will be heading that.
Our next question comes from Gary Meyer, private investor. Please proceed with your question.
Hey, Nader and Mike, everyone, thank you very much. It's a great call. Several questions. I think you answered indirectly one of them. My question was the reason for the delay of about 6 months from filing BLA at the end of toward the end of 2018 to now perhaps 6 months later. Is this a result of some change of direction, finding that where maybe the value was going to be in HIV was going to take a little bit longer, and you wanted to, it wasn't going to be quite what you wanted, so a little bit more emphasis on the non-HIV where the greater value, potential value is. Is that the reason for the delay in the HIV?
Gary, let me answer this first, and then we go to the next. So first of all, the combination therapy, as we listed on our website, we believe it has potential of $1 billion market size. So that's not small to us. And we will be aggressively pursuing. We have done that before. And to get a company from the point that we got it back into the trial when it was shelved in the time of Progenics, till now, it's been 4 years. Now, the path to approval used to be about 10 or 15 years for that, and we've traveled that in 4 years. And I know there are a lot of patient shareholders, and I appreciate that, but we need to get through the FDA and make sure we do everything that they ask for. But that's the path we're going. And the monotherapy, same thing. Nothing has been slowed down because of certain new opportunities. We're going to add those new opportunities and show the world, hopefully, that we have many options. So let's everybody have a question. Next, please.
Our next question comes from John Wagner, private investor. Please proceed with your question.
Thanks for the update. You're considering this acquisition. How do you plan to finance that?
So the financing of this, obviously, we are first of all focused to hopefully do this with the shares of CytoDyn at a price that would be reasonable to us. So we obviously are looking at that very carefully, but we can't get into that till we have more information that we like to publicly announce.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next question comes from Jens Meyer, private investor. Please proceed with your question.
Hello, thank you for taking my question.
Sure.
And congratulations to your great success, especially in the monotherapy with the high dosage arm. This is excellent.
Thank you.
So and of course, so you downsized the safety profile to 150 patients, and you said that you can start with the rolling BLA end of this year and completing the components until first half 2019. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Excellent. The merger with Mr. Pastel, so there was one circulating question in our community which was about the patent he owns. And the patent was moved from the to-be-acquired company and back to Mr. Pastel's ownership. So can we assume when you acquire the company that you also acquire the patent?
That's
the patent,
correct.
By the way, is 9453836B2.
Correct. Dr. comment on that.
Yes, the intention is to create, I think, genuine market synergy by the acquisition by CytoDyn of these patents, these issued patents, providing, I think, substantial leverage in that marketplace.
Thank you. Next, please.
Our next question comes from Steve Smith, private investor. Please proceed with your question.
Yeah, hello. A lot of the recent cash raises were done through Paulson with shares and warrants, except for the last one, which seemed to be a positive type of cash raise. Do you see yourself not doing any more cash raises that also include warrants?
So we cannot answer that exactly what our path going to be, but Paulson was very important for us to get us to the point where we could do other transactions. So I cannot thank Paulson enough for what they've done through the last 4 or 5 years, but we definitely want to look at other opportunities, and even Paulson management is very much for that. They're helping us with that. Next, please.
Okay, just one additional question. Reverse splits, my experience, they're usually not good. I know that the board can still approve the reverse split. I believe it expires next month. Do you have any comment on the reverse split or uplisting to a better exchange than over-the-counter?
I am against reverse split at this time. Our company has tremendous amount of strength going forward, and I will be against that going forward. Thank you. Next, please.
Our next question comes from Ryan Che, private investor. Please proceed with your question.
Yes, a question for Dr. Pastel. Did you evaluate Pro-140 in vivo using your mouse model of the metastatic breast cancer? And if you did, how did it compare with Muvaric?
Dr. Pastel, please.
It's a great question. We're currently evaluating those in vivo. We don't have conclusive results at this stage to share, but rest assured when we do, we will share those data.
Great, thank you. Next, please.
Our next question comes from Jeff Pfeiffer, private investor. Please proceed with your question.
Hey, Nader.
Hello.
And thank you guys for today. This is a call that we've all been waiting a long time for. Just wanted to say welcome to Pastel, and hopefully have some big things coming in that arena. My question deals with the change from the investigational to the pivotal in the mono. Could you talk about what that perhaps will look like logistically and from a timeline perspective?
Sure, thank you for the question. FDA has indicated to us in the past that the responders rate needs to be higher, and they needed to know the reason why some patients did not respond. We also wanted to make sure that those patients who don't respond after a certain time, they can go back to their original regimen without losing any active therapy. So having said that, we are now where we have higher responders rate. We have the answer to the question why some patients didn't respond. We did a higher dose. FDA allows to do that. We're going to go to another higher dose, and then we're going to go to FDA and meet with them and discuss a pivotal trial. The timing of that, I am hoping to be by the end of the year, where we can get a pivotal trial, and if that takes us to the end of 2019, then that would be very ideal because we have a back-to-back approval, hopefully. Thank you. Next, please. Yes, thanks.
As a reminder, we are now conducting a question and answer session. If you would like to ask a question, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad. A confirmation tone will indicate your line is in the question queue. You may press star 2 if you would like to remove your question from the queue. For participants using speaker equipment, it may be necessary to pick up your handset before pressing the star keys. One moment, please, while we pull for questions. Our next question comes from Mike Scheich, Falcon Strategic Research. Please proceed with your question.
Hi, Nader. This is my follow-up question.
Yep.
Right now, what happens is the heart is the current standard of care. Have you talked to key opinion leaders regarding what Pro 140 is about and how it might affect the future of the current standard, or might affect the current standard of care?
Great question. Yeah. So, Mike, great question. Yes, we had a lot of ideas, and the inventor of this product, Dr. Paul Madden, looked at this very carefully, actually, and he really liked us to do a combination therapy, perhaps with some integrase inhibitor. There's a lot of ideas. Keep in mind that patients who are taking 3-4 pills a day, if they do put Pro 140 as one of the components of their heart, they have 3 days blanket over the regimen. That means they don't have to be paranoid that they might miss their pills here and there. They have 3-day blanket. That's a very important aspect of this product. Our latest research that we did independently, most patients were very favorable of Pro 140. So we definitely have a lot of options. Our options are going to be a lot better even when we have the first approval. But we will be looking at some innovative thinking through our key opinion leaders about other potentials.
Okay. And then if I could ask a question on business development. So one, do you have any metrics for us to gauge how you're doing business development? For example, like how many NDAs you signed with drug companies, just to give us like a little flavor of what you may be looking at, because you'd indicated that you're looking at doing possibly licensing deals. I don't know if acquisition is inappropriate to ask about, but definitely licensing, I think, is fair game. And have you signed NDAs, and if so, how many?
Yeah, so we cannot answer those questions, unfortunately, Mike. But under NDA, some investors, we have been able to discuss that. But rest assured that we are exploring everything. With that, thanks, Mike. Next, please.
Our next question comes from Tom Sullivan, private investor. Please proceed with your question.
Hi, yes, I just have 3 significant questions. One is if you have the safety, the efficacy data for the combo trial, and you have only 150 patients needed for safety, which I assume you've acquired by now 25-week data on, why does it take till end of the year before you can start filing the rolling BLA? That's the first question. Second question is regarding the monotherapy trial. The question was, when you're talking about a pivotal trial, you're talking about a whole new trial that starts from scratch, or you're talking about converting the current monotherapy from investigational to pivotal? Those are really the 2 major questions. And the third one is in regards to cancer. If you have safety data already from the combo therapy and potential and approved drug, do you start straight to phase 2/2B3 trials for cancer? So you have potential accelerated approval if there's efficacy in cancer.
Yeah, thank you for the questions. Yeah, the cancer, as we saw with graft versus host disease, we had in vitro studies, and that allowed us to go to phase 2. So the answer would be yes, we could perhaps go to phase 2. It's remained to be seen after we send our protocol to FDA, but I will assume and guess that the answer would be yes, we do have safety profile to let us do that. In regards to monotherapy pivotal trial, we don't know till we meet with the FDA, so that's something I will not comment till I meet with the FDA. The next one was the rolling BLA. The BLA has 3 segments. the manufacturing, which is CMC, non-clinical and clinical. The 150 patients will come from combination therapy of whatever number we have, plus the rest of them from monotherapy passing 24 weeks. Whether it's 350 or higher dose, they're all going to be accepted. And we're confident we'll have those ready fairly soon, those two components. But with the CMC portion of it, that's what we are not sure. And thank you. Next, please.
Our next question comes from Jeff Pfeiffer, private investor. Please proceed with your question.
Just had a follow-up question. You mentioned that you had sought third parties to do market research and valuations, and that this would be released shortly. Is there a more specific timeline that you have that we could expect to see some of those research papers?
Yes, I would say within the next 2-3 weeks we should have it on the website. That's my guess.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, please.
Our next question comes from Tom Paragian, private investor. Please proceed with your question.
Yeah, hi, Nader. So,
hello.
I think the market for the likely label upon approval for the combo therapy by the FDA is grossly misunderstood, and it's our belief that the two drugs that are approved for the salvage market, which is TaiMed's Iblizumab and Pfizer's Maravroc, have significantly lower market opportunities than what we anticipate for Pro 140 based on the protocol in this current pivotal phase 3 combo study. Can you clarify the differentiation between those markets?
So yes, for sure. Thank you for the question. That market for them is HTE, highly treatment experienced population. Our label will be HTE, which is 3-class resistance, and to be exact, is 1 drug resistance from 3 different classes. But we have we could also have 1 resistance from 2 different classes plus limited treatment option. So that might be a little bit larger size, but I hate to talk about the label when we don't have the BLA submitted. I like to let FDA, get a chance to look at that before we comment on it.
Right. So based on the third-party analysis that CytoDyn contracted that you referenced earlier, are you able to talk about the dollar value of what the market possibility could be based on that report?
Of course, yes.
Please do.
Did you want me to comment on what the dollar value right now? Hello? So I think we lost Tom, but let me just say this, that on our website we have market values for combination therapy, and we haven't changed that based upon the report that we received. So we'll leave it alone for now, but the fact that we haven't changed it should answer the question, but we like to wait till we get the report completely posted. Next, please.
Our next question comes from Alicia Soka, private investor. Please proceed with your question.
Yes, hello. Thank you very much for taking my call. And
sure.
First, I would like to congratulate you with all the very wonderful results. I am a physician, and I cannot believe it. What good results with no side effects. So thank you.
Thank you.
I would also like to congratulate to Dr. Pestel. I think he is a perfect match to our cancer study. Congratulations and good luck. I have only a couple short questions, really. With combo, P3 combo, 81% of the patients did very well. 19 didn't do as well. Did we ever try higher doses with them, 525?
That's a great question. No, we did not. But having said that, this population was very hard to enroll, so we didn't want to go back to the higher the dose. These patients also will take optimized background regimen. Our product has shown that with most of the drugs out there, we are either additive or synergic. For example, with Maravroc, we have a synergic effect. So because of that, when you use our product with them, we believe once a week, Pro 140 350 milligram will be enough to be a component of the heart, and in the past we've shown the effect of that. Once you take everything else out and you want Pro 140 to be the only product, keep in mind the half-life of Pro 140 is 3.4 days.
Right.
So now you need to have a little bit higher dose, we believe. And keep in mind that also some patients could have higher level of CCR5 on the surface of their cell. So therefore, you then going to need for monotherapy to have higher dose. Some patients did not need higher dose. They went with a lower dose all the way to 4 years now. We have patients approaching 4 years on monotherapy on the original CD01 trial that allow them to have extension.
Thank you very much. And now
Sure.
I have a question about GVHD. We have
Yes.
5 locations open right now, I believe, right? And
Correct.
we have hard time to get 20 patients altogether. According to FDA, we need 60 patients. Are you planning to open any more locations?
Yes, we will. We want to focus on combination therapy, but we would like to enroll 10 patients from these 5 clinics, and they told us, the principal investigators at those 5, that they could enroll them very quickly, and we need to have IRB approval and all that, and that's internal review board approval. So we will proceed with those 10. Keep in mind, if we duplicate the results that we saw with the mice, we might not want to enroll the rest of the patient. Maybe we will have a shorter trial.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you very much. And just one more thing, MS. I understand that on animal studies, we have wonderful results with MS. Are you thinking to do clinical study in some near future, Dr. Parhassan?
Yes, we said before that our MS result was stunning, and
Right.
Dr. Dennis Berger is still working on that, and we definitely going to have some major announcement, hopefully, about what we're going to do with that as soon as we can.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Our next question comes from Robert Taker, private investor. Please proceed with your question.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I have perhaps a radical question, and that is, considering the recent success of the company, the development of the products, and the large number of shares, have you considered any possibility of bringing in, reducing the large number of shares that are outstanding? I realize it's a radical question.
So you're talking about reverse split?
No. Talking about some type of arrangement to buy back shares.
Oh yes, we have not considered anything like that, but again, if anything comes up in the future, we have to announce it. But as of now, our focus is not on that at all.
Well, let me just add to that, sure. Nader. Sir, we have explored and executed recently various tender offers for our outstanding warrants. Secondly, a traditional share repurchase program would require a significant amount of cash. And I think in this context or setting, that deploying available liquidity to advance trials would produce a far higher return for shareholders.
Yeah. So the last question, please. Next. Operator, next
question, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of the question and answer session, and I would like to turn the call back to Dr. Porhassan for closing remarks.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for being on this call, and thanks to Dr. Pastel taking time to be on this call with us. I want to just emphasize that we have CD02 trial, which is our combination therapy, which we are working on BLA. So the final approval for this product is what we are looking for. Then we are looking at our monotherapy, which we always been telling our investors that we need to find out some major answers to some difficult questions. We answered them, and those answers are looking very nice to us. We will be proceeding with that. And then the non-HIV, I am just so excited about with Dr. Richard Pastel and our opportunity going forward. And our visibility campaign also has been already in place in the last few days, and we are going to aggressively pursue that. So with that, I want to thank all for participating on today's call, for your questions and continuing interest in CytoDyn. We have a very exciting future in front of us. We look forward to keeping you appraised of our progress, and have a great day.
This concludes today's conference. You may disconnect your lines at this time. Thank you for your participation.